Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya. I bow to the Lord Shiva. I bow to him in all things, and I see Shiva as an inspiring aspect of God, because not only does he destroy your attachments to things that don't mean anything anyway, but he helps to dissolve all your delusions and to become one with him. Every aspect of Om, and this trinity as it's been called, but is not truly a trinity, the three aspects of Om, the creative vibration, the preserving vibration, the dissolving vibration, all are beautiful. And it would be good to attune yourself with all of them. You don't see people worshipping Brahma. You think of Brahman, the infinite spirit. But Brahma, the creator, is a wonderful aspect. Ask God to create through you, and you find that you become more and more filled with his inspiration and his love. And I don't know really why. There must be some abstruse reason why Indians don't worship the creative aspect of God. Because, first of all, we cannot create anything. All we can do is help to manifest that which has already been manifested. Try to bring the higher aspects of his divine manifestation into our work. But even a woman cooking can be creative. This is why everybody seems to think of mothers cooking as the best. Well, there are an awful lot of mothers in this world, and their cooking can't all be the best. And it's not just a question of, well, I'm used to it. It's also this, that when you think of God and offer your food up, or when you cook with love and think you're doing it for your own family, then there are vibrations there that can affect you. There's a very interesting story in Paul Brunton's book, A Search in Secret India. I think it was in Benares. He met a Brahmin who wasn't eating, and he said it was because his cook had gone away for a while. And Brunton said to him, quite obviously, why don't you just get another cook? And he said, well, I'm accustomed to her vibrations, and I would rather wait till she comes back. And I think many readers must have thought this was a very puzzling statement. But indeed, I remember there was one in the West. We celebrate, at least the Christians. I was brought up in a Christian home. We celebrate Christmas as the Hindus here celebrate Diwali. And I was cooking a dinner with several others, but cooking with them for a big Christmas banquet. And I did it with a great deal of joy, and we were chanting to God and singing, "Oh God, beautiful," and other chants of my gurus. And when I sat down to the meal, everybody was laughing at how much I ate, but there was so much joy in that food. I could feel the joy with which we'd been cooking. It is actually so. I have had times, because I used to cook for myself, but it takes so long to cook, eat, clean up, and about 2 hours every day was going into this when my real work was writing and teaching. So finally people in the community began bringing me food. And I began to feel not comfortable. They were all good people, but their vibrations each one was different. And so I am very happy now that I have basically one cook. When she's ill, other people help out. But I do feel her vibrations. I do feel the goodness and sattvic qualities and the purity of her heart. And I think that all these things, if we give them to God, then we can be creative. To feel that God's creativity is with you, and no matter what you are doing, you will see that whatever you do comes out just right. And Vishnu, to preserve everything as it is. Many people think that preservation should mean preserving the old standards. They should be ever new. What you need to do is preserve that same one consciousness. You know, Sanatana Dharma is not just Hinduism. Sanatana Dharma is the religion of the whole universe. It's the aspiration of every soul, through whatever means, the aspiration of every soul to achieve oneness with its own higher self. This is what Vishnu really represents, to preserve that consciousness no matter where we go, so that always, in all the things that we do, which should be ever new, just as God is ever new, don't be stuck in tradition, because that brings you to habit. And when you are habit, you cannot be creative, and you can never achieve a sense of the eternal now. You're always thinking, well, what did my father do? What did his father do? I've mentioned before a story of a young man I met back in about 1959, and I suggested to him, he was a businessman, I made one suggestion that I thought would be helpful to him in his work, to help him be more prosperous. And what was interesting was not that he didn't decide as to whether my suggestion was a good one or not. His answer was, well, this is the way my father did it. Well, I think India is in a very good state right now, because there are many things that Indians can't say their fathers did it. If you're working in computers, your father did not work in computers, probably. You may be very young, I don't know. But the fact is that there are certain things that cannot be a part of tradition. And I've often thought that there are many things in the modern world that are wonderful. If a woman has a choice between washing her clothes by beating them on a rock or just pushing a button on a washing machine, I doubt that very many women would become dogmatic or remain dogmatic very long. Washing those clothes takes a lot of effort. Pushing a button takes no more effort than pushing your clothes in and taking them out. And they come out cleaner. And I'll never forget how many clothes, when I used to have them washed that way, came back after just a few wearings with tears in them and worn thin. There are many things in the modern world that are very worth taking. And so if you think Vishnu means preserving things just as they are and you should remain traditional, I don't see much gain in that. I think that there should be a little more of the Brahma consciousness. And the same thing with Shiva. Don't cling to things that are wrong. Just say, well, this is me. Nothing is you. You aren't your personality. You aren't your limited ego. You are the infinite manifesting for a little while as this ego. But in time, that will have to go. And no matter what qualities you have, once you are out of them, they will cease to be. And when Arjuna said, I will not fight, and Krishna said that there is no death, that the soul is never born and it never dies, what he was saying is that that energy which you have been putting into delusion will be simply transformed into an energy that takes you upwards. It's the same energy. You don't lose anything. People think that, well, I will be diminished. This is what Arjuna was thinking. I will be diminished if I leave my bad habits behind. Well, no, you won't be, because the same energy you put into that and made that as your definition will be also directed higher. And you will suddenly feel that, oh, that's my true self. And even a sattvic personality is not enough. You have to go beyond all of the three gunas. Tri guna rahitam. That is what the true guru is. That is what God is. And so, in worshiping Shiva, also worship him in the sense of not destroying those things that you call precious, but helping you to dissolve your being into him and destroying your delusions. Because his dance of pralaya, when it dissolves everything back into the spirit, that dance is a liberating dance. Try to worship all three aspects of God. And then, as the song says, Sri Gunarahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami, I bow to myself in that being which is beyond all the three gunas. And remember that true gurus are beyond these three qualities. They express divine love, not ego love. They express divine creativity, not their own. One time somebody asked my guru, is it possible for inspiration to be under the control of your will? You know how many artists and composers and Other people go through long dry spells where they somehow can't seem to create anything. My guru answered, yes, it is possible. Take down this poem. And I don't have it with me, so I can't recite it exactly, but the poem was something like, when I was asleep, I didn't know you, but now that I have wakened up, I see you in every flower, in every beautiful scene, in all good things, and in all things. Father, when I was blind, I beheld not a door that leads to thee. Those are the first words. Now that thou hast opened my eyes, I see doors everywhere. Well, he had been dressing to go and give a lecture, and when somebody asked him this question, he was still just getting ready to prepare, and he had a crowd of people already downstairs waiting for him. Still, he was able to sit down and say, yes, take down this poem. Yes, it could be like that. I have seen that again and again, that the block that comes into your mind is based on ego. I can't think of something to say. And of course, that will probably be true sometimes, but he will always be able to inspire you if you turn to him. And you know, there is no thing that is not a part of him. There is nothing that you can do that isn't he. As long as you think you are doing it, you will see that you block that flow. But when he comes through you, he will come, first of all, filtered through your personality. That just is the way it is. It can't be different. And secondly, because of that, it will always be different. And because the moment that you're in is also a new and different moment, his creativity will be new and different every moment. But one time, and I've told this story before, it's a good story. Because one time somebody told me that a friend, a visitor to our community, had said that he thought I must have been some great writer in the past because he liked my writing style. Well, I didn't take it personally. I just figured, well, I'm doing it for God. But there was enough of that thought that I'm doing it for God, for me the next day to think, well, I must do a good job for God and I mustn't disappoint my public. As soon as that little thought of I intruded itself, I found I couldn't do anything. It just wouldn't. I rearranged sentences like boxcars in a railway yard this way, that way. Nothing came out. I must have tried 50 different combinations and none of them satisfied me. Then I saw what a fool I was, and I sat back and had a good laugh. And I said, God, you tell me what you want. And I gave it up to him. Instantly an answer came. It was substantially different from the others, and it was right. I have seen that his inspiration can be the right thing for that moment. And you know, sometimes it has happened that people have asked me a question, and I've tried to think, and I just couldn't come up with an answer. And I've prayed to God, and all of a sudden, the answer has been there. But at first, I had to reach the point where I said, well, really, I'm sorry, I don't know. And in giving up completely, but still keeping my mind turned toward God, suddenly, I did know. And I've seen that happen in things that I couldn't possibly have known with this brain. I'd never read them, I'd never studied them. But he will give you knowledge, he will give you inspiration, he will give you guidance. And the more in tune with him you are, and the more you live in the thought of him, the more you will see that that guidance does come. But it has to come first with the thought that I am an empty vessel for him. Now, there are three basic delusions that keep us from being able to find that: money, wine, and sex. And in this book, I know that this is not a popular subject because most people have a desire for sex, and it's natural. If God hadn't implanted that desire, there wouldn't be a human race. So anyway, he said to us, remember, it is Divine Mother who tests you through sex. It is she also who blesses when you pass her test. As soon as the first thought of it enters the mind, that is the time to catch it. However tempting it seems now, Once you are out of it, you will see that it is the greatest delusion. Those words, the first thought of sex, mean more than when the thought assails the mind pleasurably. Even the idle thought, the Master would have added, when there is no desire, is best avoided. Because, as in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it said that from dwelling on something, desire comes, and when desire comes, anger flows if the desire is frustrated, and so from anger comes complete delusion. So always understand that everything that comes to you is God. Don't be attached to things. The instinct of the body inclines one to that. But in fact, as Master said, when you're out of it, it doesn't mean anything, because you understand that it's just an expression of Him. It's one of the battles everybody has to go through. I'm grateful that in my old age I don't feel it, because many people of my age still look back sort of wistfully. I have no such thought at all, but I'm grateful for that. But I don't say it's my credit. It's His credit. Everything that you are, give it to Him, and He will be able to free you of it. But don't say, well, I shouldn't be, and therefore I'm not. Be honest with yourself. It's no big deal. It's perfectly normal, but many people try to hide from themselves even that they have any desire for anything. Well, you can't hide from the truth, even if you can hide from your ego. So why not be completely honest? It's perfectly normal to be in delusion. That's why we're here. And it's very gratifying to know what your delusions are, because then you've got something to work on. So don't worry that you've been wrong, whether you've had a desire for money or desire for fame or desire for human love or desire for anything at all. Don't worry about it. Just understand. You know, there was one man who he was a drunkard. I don't say a drunkard because that sort of defines a person, but he did drink to excess. And when he heard my guru speak, he was so moved, and he wanted so much to seek God, but he couldn't help his habit. And so he took Kriya initiation, and his friends used to say, what on earth are you taking initiation from when you can't even stop drinking? He said, well, I can't help drinking, but at least I can help loving God and doing Kriya. So he told me that he literally would have a glass of whiskey by his side and his Kriya Mala in the other hand. And if he wanted a little drink, he'd take it and then go on doing his Kriya. And people would have said, well, he's crazy. But you know, he kept on doing Kriya until finally he reached the point where he said, what am I doing? This is so much more pleasurable, feeling God's joy inside, than this old foul-tasting drink. And he gave it up and never had the slightest desire again. Well, if you can't refrain from doing wrong, then at least do what's right. And you will find that gradually the balance will shift until finally you can say, well, at least that delusion is not with me. Whatever others I have to work on, okay, I hope God will help me in that too. But remember, life, as this next song says, flows on like a river, but always go as if you were like that river itself. Just be free and don't be attached to anything. Joy to you.
Life flows on like a river that homes to the sea. 1 hour bounding through mountain vales, 1 hour winding through a lea. None may on the way, none may coax time to stay. Fleeting scenes move by us like a dream. Cling not, none will be your own, lest you grieve to be alone. Go within you, there flows on like a river that homes to the sea. 1 hour bounding through mountain vales, 1 hour winding through a lea. None may linger on the way, none may coax time to stay. Fleeting scenes move by us like a dream. Cling not, none will be your own, lest you grieve to be